Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to the class Professional Practices in Software Development, lecture of 8th February. So, as usual, let's check from the curriculum that what we were studying last week. And before going to the course plan, first let me show you the academic calendar, latest academic calendar, which was in this semester. Academic calendar was modified from time to time due to government instructions regarding COVID-19 precautions and etc. Although your session remained in ODL distance learning mode throughout this semester, so as you can see that the 2019 session, the classes will continue till 19th February, and then your exam will start from 22nd Feb. So we have this week and the next week for academic activity and lectures. So, and then your midterm and final exam will be held on campus. So this was the notification which we used to check in the first lecture of the week. And now, as you can see, our course outline from the curriculum, that we were studying cybercrime and introduction last week, and we covered from Sarah Bay's Gift of Fire, chapter 5, 5.1 and 5.2 up to hacking, and we defined cybercrime, as well as we looked at the term of hacking, that is a generic contextual term, and we saw the evolution of cybercrimes in various phases, starting from phase 1 from 1960s up to now. So we saw these evolution and development of cybercrime in 4 phases in the definition of hacking last week, as well as we discussed a lot of examples and 2 case studies last week as well in the cybercrime introduction. So let's resume that chapter from where we left, and as you can see that we are moving forward towards the last topic of this course as per our curriculum and course plan, that is cybercrime laws. And inshallah we will complete this topic in this week, the lecture today and the next. And in the last week, 3 lectures will be remaining after today's class, and I'll try that 1 lecture should be dedicated as a seminar to be conducted from an officer in FIA Cybercrime Wing, not only on the topic of cybercrimes, but also on the topic of professional practices in software development. As I've told you earlier, that my old classmate Muhammad Imran Durrani, he's working as Assistant Director FIA Cybercrime Wing. However, he worked as a software developer in various software houses in Islamabad and Lahore, and as well as he worked with Punjab government, and as well as he worked also with the United Nations and various NGOs in his career spanning 10 to 13, 14-year job experience. He got as a developer, and after serving as developer for so many years, now he joined FIA Cybercrime from last couple of years. So the seminar will be on professional practices in software development in particular, and in general on cybercrime topic as well. So he will share with you his past experiences and how to behave professionally in an organization as a developer as per his experience of the industry. So he worked in government and private sectors both, and now in FIA, and also a journal discussion will be held on cybercrime as well. So from these three lectures, if that session is became possible, so we will conduct seminar in one lecture and the course review and further sources of learning in another lecture, and one lecture will be required to cover the to complete this topic, that is cybercrime laws from the Sara-based book, which we'll start today as well. So let's move on to the book. So as you people know that last week what we started chapter 5, and we looked at the introduction and we covered basic definitions and evolution, and in the basic definition we touched three important aspects of cybercrime introduction. First was the mode of the cybercrime, how cybercrime is conducted, and how it is different from the conventional crimes that used to occur over the period of times. And we saw that crimes take different shapes. The means to conduct crime changed in our known history drastically. That first it was horseback or on foot, and then we saw machines, motor cars, bikes, etc. And nowadays we are moving towards e-crimes or cyber crimes. That is the crime conducted from a computer machine in the information era. That is the 21st century. And we also touched to the second aspect of cybercrime introduction, that was the impact of cybercrime in comparison to the conventional crimes committed around the globe. And as you can see from reference 1, the writer has showed that it is 20 to 40 times more disastrous as compared to the conventional crime. The cyber crimes in terms of fiscal loss is 20 to 40 times more disastrous than the conventional crimes. A physical robbery that involves guns, etc., on average cost a loss of 2,500 to 5,000 US dollars, whereas a computer fraud on average cost around 1 lakh US dollars. So the impact of cyber crimes is way more than the conventional crimes. So first we saw the mode and its differentiation with conventional crimes. Then we saw the impact last week, and then also we touched the legal aspects because internet crimes or cyber crimes or e-crimes are not limited to a certain geographical place, as we see in physical crimes like a bank is robbed. It is related to a certain community, to a certain country or state. So the law applicable in that community, state, or country is applied uh, for the criminals. However, in cyber crimes, it is usually involves more than one countries. So the legal aspects we also touched, and we discussed, if you guys remember, we discussed the exact software house case study relating to Pakistan, and as well as we discussed a case study of peer-to-peer data sharing like the Pirate Bay torrent servers. So we discussed these two case studies, and we saw the contrasting legal applicability. Like in exact case, at the time of that crime, the Cyber Act was not applicable in Pakistan. It was not passed from the Legislative Assembly of Pakistan and was not signed as a bill that become part of constitution. Still, the owners of exact were prosecuted as per the conventional law, honoring the international practices, whereas we saw the contrasting trend in the peer-to-peer network sharing of data and information like the Pirate Bay using torrent clients, that in certain countries those that is legal, but in other countries that is illegal. But however, the country in which it is legal, it is still operating on a pretext. So we saw contrasting law applicability as well. So this was an introduction, and we touched three things: mode of cybercrime, impact of cybercrime, and the associated laws that are applicable um, for on the criminals. And then we moved on in last week to the term hacking, and we saw that it's not a scientific term, that it have singular meaning in any condition. It's a contextual and generic term related to human behavior and interpretation of that behavior again by the humans. So to understand this term, we have to look at the context of the definition of hacking, which is time bound, which travels on time. And we saw that in 1960s and 70s, there was a different perception for the word hacking and cybercrime. And then in 70s to 90s, the trend again changed. And from mid 90s into the information age, I mean 21st century, so we see another development of the term. As we saw last week, that initially the computer users were less in numbers as compared to computer user numbers in 2020 or 21st century. The computer users in 1960s and 70s were far less and belonged to a certain quarter: university students, habitual programmers, large enterprise corporation users, etc. So it was very limited, and hacker was a wide term, a positive term, as you can see. And then we saw when the computer usage expanded, and it touched almost all social segments of life, and then the hacking took a negative term, and people started considering this term as negative in certain communities. However, with the advent and boom of internet starting from mid 90s, the growth of e-commerce as well contributed to the term of hacking as mostly the disastrous or negative meaning. So we saw the evolution of this term and its interpretation by different people. Nowadays, it is in general understood and contrasted as a negative term. So we saw this last week as well. And then we, you know, took a lot of examples in every phase. We also discussed the IBM desktop era and the World Wide Web era and the e-commerce era, the growth of mobile phones, the smart gadgets, and the life without computer is impossible nowadays. We, although we can physically live, but socially and emotionally, we thought to be cut off when we are not connected to the internet or to a computer device. Our daily life, in our daily life, almost in every action, there is a digital device involved. The home appliances, we saw a lot of examples: air conditioners, microwave ovens, automobiles, smart watches, all are computers that are assisting or helping in our daily life. So computers are part of our life nowadays, and therefore the term hacking now mostly regarded as negative term by the general public. Although in a certain open source programmers community, it still is considered positive. So this was last lecture, last two lectures actually. We started last week in our Monday and Tuesday class. So now we carry on our course contents, and we are going to cover law perspective in cybercrime. As you saw in the course outline, that cybercrime laws. So directly jumping to the laws, we have to look that why the laws were necessary to be created at first place. As we saw in the ethics section, that there were certain things which were legal in the past. But with the passage of time, people regarded that there is a need to create laws for certain things which do not existed previously. For example, we took examples of industrial revolution at that time. So there were no health and safety at workplace laws before 18th century. When the industrial revolution started, so there was a need to regulate that sector. So there was no need to regulate this sector previously. So as in 20th century, computers came and its usage expanded, and there were frauds related to piracy, terrace passing, and even fiscal frauds after the advent of e-commerce and e-banking facilities. So there was a need to regulate this segment of society to control the crimes conducted online or using e-facilities. So before directly jumping to the laws, we have to look at the context, why the need of laws was emerged at first place, and then we will see the evolution. As you can see in the book, hacktivism or political hacking. Now, in this topic, the writer Sarah Bays will elaborate various sectors where there was a room for laws. And as you guys know that laws around the globe are not identical, as we saw in peer-to-peer sharing case study. So laws will differ. It depends from country to country, society to society, and according to the needs that what sort of laws are necessary in a particular country. So there may be laws in a country that make certain electronic actions illegal that may be completely legal in another country. So we will see different segments in this section. After hacking, evolution of term hacking in 5.2, we are now looking at the segments where there is a room for creating laws. So first is the hacktivism or political hacking. So what this term means, hacktivism, also now this term is earlier last week, that it will also elaborate key terms, the key terms that are covered in this chapter. First is hacktivism. What is meant by hacktivism? Hacktivism is the use of hacking to promote a political cause. Okay, so this is very simple definition. Okay, although political hacking is a simpler word to define this sort of hacking, however, the term used in technical community is called hacktivism. It is the use of hacking to promote a political cause. I mean, this is also called social engineering that relate to fifth gen warfare. If a country or a group of countries target another country or a group of country. And now the discussion in this section is that, is there ethical justification for such hacking? Should penalties for hacktivists differ from penalties for other hackers? Just as hacking in general ranges from mild to highly destructive activities, so can political hacking. For example, in the last US elections in which Donald Trump won, certain segments of United States legislative community, accused Russia that they have engineered these elections. I mean, they have hacked using different techniques. They have made mind of the people supportive to Donald Trump policies. So, although those accusations were never proved, but these were the accusations of hacktivism. So, if you ever listen to the term hacktivism, that is mostly regarded as political hacking. As I have told you at the start of this chapter, that this is not something scientific like defining differentiation or defining, constructor and destructor in C++ or the copy constructor or the pass by reference and pass by value. Those are scientific terminology and they have singular meaning and they have a singular, well-defined purpose. The social sciences terms and the terms used in arts are not scientific. They are contextual or generic terms, and we have to look to them in that context. As we just looked at hacking last week, or in the start of the semester when we were discussing organizational behavior, ethical values. Okay, these are the social terms which are generic and contextual, and they differ from country to country, society to society, community to community, religion to religion, because these terms relate to human behavior, which is not static or identical in all conditions. Like we do the scientific experiments, if you write a C++ program of printing table of 2 up to 10, then no matter how many times you run that program, it will always print the table of 2. It's not going to print the table of 3 or 4 or 5, you know. So in case of human behavior, that is unpredictable. If you, I often quote the example, if you give certain amount of money to an investor and ask him to invest 10 times, so you will see variation in his actions, variation in his processes, variation in his selection of business where he or she is going to invest. So human behavior is not identical. So the terms associated with human behaviors, social sciences or arts or social terms, are also not identical around the globe. It differs from person to person, community to community, society to society. However, we take the generally agreed, most agreed meaning of a term. And also sometimes it varies from time to time. Like we saw the 4 phases of for the term hacking or cybercrime. So let's go further. After some academic writers and political groups argue that hacktivism is ethical, that it is a modern form of civil disobedience. You know, some people are pro and some speak against it. Some people say that it comes under the freedom of speech. If hacktivism is done to persuade a group of people to follow a certain political party, etc., then it is not illegal. Some people argue, and they say that it's just like freedom of speech. And other people argue that no, this is controlling other people's minds according to our wish, which is somewhat maybe regarded as hacking. So you may speak in favor of hacktivism or against it. It's up to you. The Sarah Base, the writer of the book, has given both ideas. Another factor to consider when evaluating hacktivism is the political system under which the hacktivists live. As I've told you, from both ethical and social perspective, it differs from country to country. In free countries, like in democratic countries, here you can see it is written almost anyone can tweet or post their words and video on the web for free. It is hard to justify hacking someone else's site to promote a political cause. So it's not always the case even in free countries. Like when I was preparing this lecture yesterday, I saw a few interviews and I was listening to Ashir Azim as he was telling that although he himself differs 1,000 times with Donald Trump, but his Twitter account was blocked because certain people thought that Trump ideas are not in line with their thinking. Okay, so even this is against the freedom of speech that his account was closed. You know, this argument can be based on anybody else. Anyways, so it's not always the case in so-called free countries that their freedom of speaking at social sites is not restricted. Uh, Totally free country, I don't think so. There is a country which is totally free. Every country imposes certain amount of restrictions according to its policies. The state has to implement its writ in in favor of the citizens, you know. So you may be pro or against hacktivism. Both factors are discussed in this section. And hackers as security researchers. So this is very much true. Nowadays in 21st century, Since well before the advent of the web, there has been a subculture of hackers who probe computer systems, most often without permission, to find security flaws as an intellectual exercise and for some as a public service. Nowadays, even Microsoft corporations and other big corporations publish a list annually of white hackers who pinpoint the security flaws in their systems. And I feel honored to share with you that one of my class fellow, Dr. Usher, now that he was Usher and now he's Doctor, PhD from Germany, remained in top 5 researchers from last 2-3 years, as per the list published by Microsoft Corporation around the world. And Microsoft lists top 100 white hackers around the world. And Usher came on number 1 last year in 2020 as the number 1 hacker, white hacker around the world. And he also got recommendation from Facebook, where he posts them their security flaws, and regularly he used to check Microsoft product, and from last 5 years he's in top 10 or 5 researchers around the world of white hackers. So hackers and security researchers are people who just try to find security flaws in enterprise software for public service. And also those corporations help them financially in terms of prize or money, so that these hackers are work with high morale and they keep working the good work. It is good for public as well as it is good for the corporations, as their products are made more secure. The more the white hackers will work on their product, the more it becomes secure, because once they indicate a security flaw, and then it is covered in the next patch. Many security researcher hackers are very scornful of big software companies. Sometimes white hackers do not tell the security flaws to commercial companies, even if they discover, because they think that those companies are looting people by selling their products in so high cost, whereas open source products are available freely. So some white hackers do not tell and others do tell. Exposing security flaws is not a legitimate justification for most hacking. It doesn't becomes legal if you say that I was just hacking that system to check security flaws. So you need to get a license, permission from either the corporation or the government to become a white hacker, to do research, to detect security flaws in a software or in a computer system. Now, the other mode of hacking is hacking as foreign policy. Now, we saw that hacktivism and hackers as security professionals, and hacking is also used as a foreign policy. Hacking by governments for economic and military espionage and to disable enemies or future enemies has increased dramatically in the past few years, as this is the information age. So the hacking is also used as a Cold War tactic or Cold War instrument. Many, as per the Sara base, many cyber attacks come from China. They are accusing, although it is never proved, as she is writing. However, it is difficult to prove that the government is behind them. However, the nature and sophistication of the attacks, as well as the type of targets, lead security researchers to believe that they are the work of government agencies, not civilian hackers. So it has given a lot of examples of government to government hacking in this section. And also, as you can see, that Stuxnet is an extremely sophisticated worm program that targets a particular type of control system, and beginning in 2008 damaged equipment in a uranium enrichment plant in Iran. The focus on Iran's nuclear program and the sophistication of Stuxnet led to speculation that the Israeli and or the US government created it. In 2012, journalist David Sanger published extensive research indicating that the two governments did indeed produce Stuxnet. So this was a worm, that damaged Iranian uranium enrichment plant information system. Uh, so this section by Sarah Bass covered a lot of examples where one government targeted another government for using hacking as a foreign policy tool. So now the next topic is 5.2.5 is security. Hacking and the spread of viruses are as much a comment on the security of computers, telecommunication systems, and the web as they are on the skills and ethics of the hacker. Hacking is a problem, so is poor security. So hacking is not the only problem. The less secure systems or poor security implemented by the client using the computer machine is also another aspect of cyber crimes that encourages cybercrime, that gives room for e-crimes to happen. For example, if you live, I give you an example, which I thought yesterday night when I was preparing your lecture. If you live in the middle of a road and you just decorate all your personal belongings in the middle of a road or in a chalk, you just put your books, boots, clothing, your car, etc., everything on the road, and you sleep in that on that very place. So what do you think, that your equipment at that particular place will be more safe, or will it be more safe in your house bedroom? So same applies to the information data we store on computers. If it is without security, without boundary walls, without locks, it is far easier to be theft. And you are inviting criminals to just steal your belongings. Same applies to the information and data. So lack of security is as much a problem as hacking is. So variety of factors contribute to security weakness. Usually general people, computer users are not all technical persons. Most of the computer users are non-technical persons, and often they ignore or even they lack the knowledge of the usability of antivirus, firewalls, and a lot of other security recommended actions like keeping passwords on certain apps, etc., not allowing cookies from website, etc., etc. So this lead to encouraging cyber crimes, and people invite hackers to steal their data because it's on without passwords, without firewalls, without antiviruses, etc. Just I have given you the example of putting your personal stuff on a road and just sleep. So security is as big a problem as hacking is. So even in United States, in developed countries, certain government agencies are not well protected. Like according to a report, references at the end of this chapter, reference number 22, gives according to US government own survey, the Government Accountability Office, GAO, um, the NASA security is so weak that hackers can easily disturb satellite functions and even can track or guide a spacecraft as well. The same report described Environmental Protection Agency computers as riddled with security weaknesses. So in developed countries, and organizations like NASA and EPA have very poor security as per the report by Government Accountability Office. And you can see in reference number 22 at the end of this chapter. Well, encryption is a particularly valuable security tool nowadays. There are lots of tools for mitigation of hacking. Encryption is one of those. In several major thefts of consumers' personal data from retailers, the databases included unencrypted credit card numbers and other security numbers. Now, one way of hacking is to steal from an individual. The other ways, mode of hacking is to hack from retailers. If you hack a retailer, he may have credit card numbers of 100 or 1,000 of clients in his computer, And if he keeps the data unencrypted, then the loss will be much higher. The impact of that theft will become much higher. So encryption is very much necessary, at least at the workstation or enterprise level, where not the individual data is saved, but collective data is saved, like in case of certain retailers. In addition to technical security tools such as encryption, there are numerous market tools that can help improve security. There are a lot of softwares that can, like Norton Internet Security, or the lots of firewalls available in the market, or the even HP security data center software that comes with the professional books you may install. There are lots of thousands and thousands of apps that can enhance the security of your system. Another factor leading to weak security for systems that affect the general public is the speed of innovation and people's desire for new things fast. Well, speed of information, the speed of internet also made it possible a lot of hacking programs to run smoothly. That was not possible when speed of internet was meager in KBs. Now, in those times, if you even hack somebody's computer, breaching its privacy, the speed of transfer was very slow in KBs, and it was highly likely that before copying a single file completely, the user disconnect from the internet, because in those times internet was like in mid 90s, the internet was costly, there was per hour cost, and people used to connect only to check emails or to do certain things online. Even I remember that in 98 99, people hardly use internet for 30 minutes or so, or for 29 minutes or so. They do everything offline, and then they go online. All the emails were compiled in some email editing software, like most popular in 99 was Microsoft Outlook. You just compile all your emails and everything else, and even there were software to download newspapers from online, and you just connect and give commands. Your emails are sent out from your outbox, and you receive new emails in your inbox, and you download a newsletter of a certain news agency, and then you disconnect from internet, because even in Pakistan, in early days, it was like 100 or 200 rupees per hour. It was internet fees, and the speed was 28.8 kbps. And then it became 50 rupees per hour in 1999, and speed was enhanced to 44 kilobytes, kilobits per second, 44K. That was the connection speed. So nowadays, you may have a 100 Mbps connection at home as well, but the common is 10 Mbps or 4 megabits per second connection, usually in homes. So the speed of innovation has made systems less secure and hacking more easier. Responsibility for security. There are many parallels between security issues for preventing crime and security issues for protecting privacy. So both are parallel things, security issues for preventing crime and security issues for protecting privacy. It means that breach of personal space and committing some crime like fiscal theft, etc. The responsibility of security is almost parallel in these two cases. If you, for example, if you encrypt your data, uh, the benefits will be parallel for stopping crime as well as for stopping someone to breach your system to steal private data. Most people who use smartphones, and now he's telling the thing that I have told you a little while earlier, that most people that use computers like smartphones, tablets, computers, smartwatches, etc., are not technical people. They don't have much information about firewalls, antivirus, etc. So they are at a higher risk than those who are using these security softwares uh, for hacking. So this was the context. We discussed different rooms जहाँ पर students के آپ کی جو ہیکنگ ہے وہ ممکن ہو سکتی ہے. تو ہم نے اس چیپٹر میں آج کی کلاس میں ہم نے دیکھا کہ ہیکٹیوزم بھی یعنی کہ پولیٹیکل ہیکنگ بھی ایک سیگمنٹ ہو سکتا ہے. اس کے بعد آپ نے یہ دیکھا کہ اسی طرح سے یہ ایک فارن پالیسی کے ٹول پہ بھی استعمال ہو سکتی ہے ہیکنگ. پھر آپ نے یہ دیکھا کہ صرف ہیکنگ ہی ایک مسئلہ نہیں ہے سائبر کرائمز میں، بلکہ سیکیورٹی کا نہ ہونا یا ای سیکیورٹی کا نہ ہونا بھی ایک ایشو ہے، اور یہ اتنا ہی بڑا مسئلہ ہے جتنا کہ ہیکنگ ہے. اور ہم نے اس میں مثال لی کہ اگر آپ اپنا سارے گھر کا سامان اٹھا کے کسی چوک پہ بستر لگا کے سو جائیں اور سارا کچھ وہاں پہ رکھ دیں، تو آپ کیا سمجھتے ہیں کہ آپ کا سامان اور بلانگنگز زیادہ ولنریبل اس چوک پر ہوں گی یا آپ کے اپنے گھر میں ہوں گی جب آپ اس کو باؤنڈری وال اور ایک اپنے بیڈ روم میں لاک کر کے رکھتے ہیں؟ تو جہاں تک سائبر کرائم یعنی سائبر ہیکرز، سائبر چوروں کا خطرہ ہے، وہیں پہ سیکیورٹی کا نہ ہونا اور لوگوں کو اس کا نالج نہ ہونا بھی اتنا ہی بڑا پرابلم ہے، جس کی وجہ سے سائبر کرائم جو ہیں وہ زیادہ ہوتے ہیں. تو ابھی اگرچہ ہم نے آج لا کو نہیں، کل ہم ڈسکس کریں گے اسے تفصیل سے، لیکن اس نے یہاں پہ اب اس نے بات کی ہے، دیکھیں کہ یہ تو سیگمنٹس ہو گئے. دیکھیں ہم نے مختلف ہیکنگ اور سیکیورٹی دونوں کو ڈسکس کیا، انڈیویجول ہیکنگ، کولیکٹیو ہیکنگ، اور ہم نے بات کی کہ جی ہیکٹیوزم بھی ہو سکتی ہے، فارن پالیسی ٹول کے طور پہ بھی یہ استعمال ہو سکتا ہے، وائٹ ہیکرز کا کیس بھی ہم نے ڈسکس کیا. اب بات آ جاتی ہے کہ کہاں پر قانون بنانے کی ضرورت ہے اور کہاں پہ قانون نہ بنانے کی ضرورت ہے. فار ایگزامپل اگر آپ وائٹ ہیکرز کو لا بنا کے منع کر دیں گے کہ وہ ریسرچ نہ کریں، تو ان کی جگہ بلیک ہیکرز وہ ریسرچ کر کے اور جنرل پبلک کو بھی نقصان پہنچائیں گے اور کارپوریشنز کو بھی اس کا نقصان ہوگا. سو کہاں پر قانون ہونا چاہیے، لمٹس کیا ہوں گی؟ دیکھیں نا، یہ لا میں وہ کہہ رہا ہے کہ آپ کی لمٹس کیا ہوں گی. تو انیشیلی یونائٹڈ اسٹیٹس میں بھی جہاں پہ بڑی تیزی سے کمپیوٹر سٹارٹ بھی ہوئے اور اسپریڈ بھی ہوئے، وائڈ اسپریڈ جو ہے وہ امریکہ میں اس کا استعمال ہوا، وہاں پہ بھی شروع میں تھا کہ قانون بنائے جائے یا نہیں. اس کے اوپر کافی لوگوں میں ڈس ایگریمنٹ تھا، کیونکہ اس وقت کمپیوٹر کے یوزرز بہت کم تھے اور استعمال جو ہے وہ پریلیمنری تھا. اور یہ ہمارے پاس پکچرز وغیرہ ڈیٹا کا تو اس ٹائم اس قسم کے ڈیٹا کا تو ارلی ڈیز میں تصور نہیں تھا، کیونکہ میموریز بھی بہت لمیٹڈ تھیں اور گرافک کارڈ ٹیکنالوجی بھی انفینسی میں تھی ان دوز ٹائمز. سو مونوکروم مانیٹر یوزلی استعمال ہوتے تھے، کلر مانیٹرز بھی بعد میں آئے. اور اینی ویز، تو جیسے جیسے ٹائم بڑھتا گیا، یوزیج بڑھی، اس کے لا کی ضرورت ہوئی، اور یونائٹڈ اسٹیٹس میں 1984 میں جا کے کمپیوٹر فراڈ اینڈ ایبیوز ایکٹ جو ہے وہ پاس کیا گیا تھا. اور اس میں پھر چینجز ہوتی رہیں، جو یو ایس پیٹریوٹ ایکٹ جو بش جونیئر کے ٹائم میں 911 کے بعد آیا تھا، اس کے اندر اس فراڈ ایکٹ کو ذرا اس کی جو بیس ہے وہ براڈ کر دی گئی، اور اس میں سزا کے اور جرمانے کے ساتھ ساتھ وہ پیسے بھی ڈال دیے گئے جو ہیکنگ کو ٹریس کرنے میں اور اس کے جو سسٹم کو جو نقصان پہنچتا ہے اسے ریسٹور کرنے میں جو کاسٹ آتی ہے وہ بھی شامل کی گئی، اور جو پینلٹی تھی وہ بڑھا کے 3 سال سے 10 سال کے تک کر دی گئی یو ایس پیٹریوٹ ایکٹ کے اندر. تو پہلے تو 84 میں کمپیوٹر فراڈ اینڈ ابیوز ایکٹ آیا، اور پھر پیٹریوٹک ایکٹ میں اس کو ایکسپینڈ کیا گیا. تو اسی طرح سے پینلٹیز فار ینگ ہیکرز، اب بہت سے ینگ جنریشن جو ہے وہ فن کے طور پہ، پرینکس وغیرہ کے طور پہ لا کو بریک کرتی ہے، تو ان کے لیے کون سا جو ہے وہ قانون ہونا چاہیے، اس کے اوپر ڈسکشن جاری ہے. مختلف ممالک میں مختلف طرح کی لیجسلیشن اس میں ہو رہی ہے. ینگ ہیکرز کو میچور ہونا چاہیے، ڈیفینیٹلی ہونا چاہیے. فلپائن کی آپ کو نے سنا ہوگا ایک یا پڑھا ہوگا کبھی کیس کے، ایک یونیورسٹی اسٹوڈنٹ نے بی ایس سی کے ناسا کے سرورز کو ہیک کر لیا تھا، اور پھر اس کو امریکہ نے اریسٹ کیا، اور پھر وہ اس کو یونائٹڈ اسٹیٹس میں وہ پھر اپنی جیل کاٹ رہا تھا اسٹوڈنٹ. ابھی تو وہ آزاد ہو گیا ہوگا، اور یہ کافی پرانی بات ہے. when we were in BSc during 1903 کے ٹائم میں یہ بات تھی. اور اس طرح اور بھی کئی بچے تھے جو کہ بڑی بڑی ہیکنگز میں انوالو تھے، اور وہ they were just doing it for hobby, for pranks، کسی خاص مقصد کے لیے نہیں. تو اس کے لیے کیا لا ہونا چاہیے؟ ٹھیک ہے، تو اس کے اوپر ڈسکشن مختلف ممالک میں جاری ہے، اور اس پیراگراف میں اس نے پرو اور کون دونوں میں باتیں کی ہیں کہ اجازت دے دیں تو کیا نقصانات ہوں گے. مطلب کہ اگر اس کو آپ پرمٹ کر دیتے ہیں تو ایسا بھی ہو سکتا تھا کہ ناسا میں کوئی بڑا ڈیزاسٹر ہو جاتا، جیسے کوئی اسپیس کرافٹ لاسٹ ہو جاتا اور اس میں لاس آف لائف ہو جاتی، یا وہ अर्थ की तरफ डायरेक्ट हो जाता, किसी ऐसी जगह पे कोई रॉकेट चला जाता जिसमें कि लोगों को नुकसान हो सकता था, या अगर आप किसी के कंप्यूटर को हैक करके और उसको फाइनेंशियल नुकसान पहुंचाएं और फिजिकल लॉस पहुंचाएं, जैसे हमने रिटेलर की मिसाल दी, फन के तौर पे आप वो स्टील करें और उसको आप इस्तेमाल करते हैं फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ हैकिंग, सो दैट विल बी डिस्ट्रक्टिव इन नेचर, ठीक है. It includes trespassing and vandalism. So, और अगर आप बड़ी सवियर किस्म की पनिशमेंट्स देते हैं यंग हैकर्स को फॉर these pranks, तो फिर इसमें लर्निंग का एलिमेंट वो जिसके लार्ज एंटरप्राइज के सिस्टम को एक अंडरग्रेड स्टूडेंट जो है वो हैक कर लेता है, तो इसमें डेफिनेटली स्किल्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, और अगर इनको सही चैनलाइज किया जाए तो वाइट हैकर्स बना के इसे पॉजिटिव सेंस में मज़ीद सिक्योर करने के लिए सिस्टम इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है. सो दोनों तरफ की डिस्कशन है जी, आप इसको पढ़ सकते हैं कि, और आप अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू भी दे सकते हैं कि व्हाट इज़ बेटर. Criminalize virus writing and hacker tools, and you can find hacking scripts and computer code for thousands of computers viruses on the internet. अब ये भी एक डिस्कशन है कि इसे क्रिमिनलाइज करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए. अब देखें कि पॉलिटिकल हैकिंग, हैक्टिविज्म और वाइट हैकर्स, इन सब में ये जो कोड है इसका इस्तेमाल किसी एक पार्टी के लिए बेनिफिशियल होता है. एज ए फॉरेन पॉलिसी तकरीबन हर ममालिक ने अपने साइबर क्राइम विंग्स बना लिए हैं स्टेट लेवल पे, जो कि उस स्टेट के जो इंटरेस्ट होते हैं उन्हें सेफ गार्ड करते हैं. तो इस तरह के जो वायरस राइटिंग टूल्स हैं, अगर इन्हें क्रिमिनलाइज कर दिया जाए तो शायद ऐसे प्रोग्रामर्स ही ना मिलें जो इस तरह की वॉरफेयर में काम आ सकें. तो इस पर भी एक लंबी डिबेट हो सकती है कि ये इलीगल है या लीगल है, और इसके अच्छे इस्तेमाल जो हैं वो कहाँ पर हो सकते हैं. सो ओके, जो अमेरिका का कंप्यूटर फ्रॉड एंड अब्यूज़ एक्ट है वो टाइम टू टाइम एक्सपैंड होता रहता है. इसमें आप देखें, इसमें सोशल नेटवर्किंग, स्मार्टफोन्स वगैरह भी इसमें अब शामिल कर दिए गए हैं, और जो लॉ है वो इलिस्ट्रेट करता है कि इम्पैक्ट ऑफ लॉ जो है वो ग्रोथ ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी पे किस तरह से इम्पैक्ट होगा. जैसे जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी एडवांस हो रही है, जो यूएस कंप्यूटर फ्रॉड एंड अब्यूज़ एक्ट है वो इस अडॉप्टिव होता चला जा रहा है इसके साथ साथ. तो ये था स्टूडेंट्स हमारा आज का लेक्चर, जिसमें हमने 5.2 को कंप्लीट किया. जो हमने लास्ट ट्यूसडे को हमने ये 5.2 को स्टार्ट किया था, और इसे हमने कंक्लूड किया है आज जाकर. तो उम्मीद है कि आपने पिछले हफ्ते के लेक्चर्स रिकॉर्डिंग सुनी होगी और क्लास भी अटेंड की होगी, और फिर किताब से इसको पढ़ा भी होगा, और कुछ बच्चों ने रेफरेंसेस भी देखे होंगे जिनको ज़्यादा इसमें इंटरेस्ट होगा. तो आपने ये आज जो 5.2 का बाकी सेक्शन है इसको भी कंप्लीट कर लेना है. जो बच्चे नहीं अटेंड कर पाए क्लास, तो वो आज तो वैसे भी आपकी जो है वो लेक्चर रिकॉर्डिंग है, तो ये आपने सुन लेनी है, और साथ के साथ आपने जो है ये जो सेक्शन है किताब से इसको पढ़ लेना. इट इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सेक्शन. तो इंशाल्लाह आपसे कल के इंटरेक्टिव सेशन में मुलाकात होगी. तब तक के लिए टेक केयर एंड अल्लाह हाफ़िज़.